Alright, here we go. Back on the Bobcat M-610. With the Wisconsin. It's a VH4D air-cooled 4-cylinder engine. We are going to walk through on how to replace and change and set up the points in here. So first, you got to loosen up that, and then there's going to be a flat screw, little itty bitty screw like that guy right there, to take that condenser out. And then you'll take this screw out right here. That one you'll leave in. All that does right there is, see, it's an oblong deal right there. That's how you adjust the base right here to adjust the points. This is the points right here. Up and down. These are extremely wore down, but that's that. So you loosen that, get the wire from the condenser off of there. This is loose. It just needs to be loose. Don't need to take it out. Alright, then we're going to go in here. Boy, somebody tightened that little screw up to like 50 gorilla pounds. So we're going to take that condenser off next. Alright, so we'll pull that out of there. The next thing we'll get is these points out of here. Okay, so what I had to do is I had to use two hands and kind of just gently go in here and pry up on that. Give it a little bit of persuasion to get out. It's probably been eons since it's ever been taken out. Right now is a good time to get your screw. Oh, this son of a gun's still really stuck in there. Yeah, that thing was really stuck on that little down right there that goes in that part right there, but that's the whole base there. Focus. So there wasn't even anything hardly left of these points. Yeah, never seen them that thin. But anyway, just an overview of how this works. So basically, you know, your key switch comes and energizes the coil. When it gets energized through, you know, when you apply a ground to this side, because this is the wire that's coming over and coming around through the side of the distributor, and then it comes in across here, goes here, and then when this is touching, it's able to be, you know, grounded out. And so when this is touching, this enables this coil to build up energy, and then when the engine rotates and it opens this up, that takes away your negative side of the coil, and that is where all that energy from inside there goes shooting out the coil wire, you know, the middle one here, and then from there through here to whichever cylinder it's ready for. And then you can see the little lobes right in there. You know, like there's 1, and then there's 2 and 3 and then 4 around the other side. So yeah, when we get this all put back together, I'll show you how to test it, make sure that it's working. Okay, so we got the new set right here. This just kind of goes underneath. Again, someday I'm gonna get a tripod so I could do this crap without having to. And you always need 2 hands, but it's gonna go in here, and this is gonna go around the outside of it. Okay, just like that. See, it's kind of hooked in there. Needs to get a little bit better. Anyways, okay, hooked in there. That'll go just straight down on there. Alright, so that's set in there like that. You know, as you can see, it's in the center there. It's off the lobe, so it's closed. We're gonna have to get the screw down in there just to hold it in, not really tighten it. Alright, cool. So I dropped the screw right down in this hole here, and I don't have any magnetized screwdrivers, and my magnet won't fit through that little hole there. So I'm going to show you what to do. Alright, just get you a wire of any kind and a battery. Got one end going to positive. The other end, wrap it through the screwdriver like so. The other end, and good idea to wear some gloves. I'm going to touch this on the negative. She got really hot. That's about all it takes though. Alright, and just take your wire off of there and stick your screwdriver in after the screw. Life hack something 101, whatever you want to call it. And it also helps putting the screw in. So okay, got that installed there. Next we'll put the new condenser in there. This is it here. And we got a nice rubber coating, you know, coming out of the wires, just all flat like that, but that's pretty cool. Gonna go right in there. It's gonna attach to that same bolt there. Alright, so that's in there. Next we'll get this finagled around and get it in that bolt there. Alright, that's getting that all put back together there. Now next we'll do is we'll set it up. Okay, so we're gonna set up these points, show you how to check your work after you get them set up, make sure that they're gonna work. This is on the Bobcat M-610 with the VH4D Wisconsin air-cooled 4-cylinder engine. So we just saw in the previous clips putting this these points in here, and so right now you can see that we have to roll the engine and get this part right here. We need to rotate to where it's on up here on one of these lobes, and then we're going to check the gap in here. The book says from like 18 something thousandths to 22. I'm going to set them at 21, just a little bit on right at the high end, but not quite. I'm going to set it up at 21 thousandths, this gap right in here. So what I'm going to do is just rotate the engine by grabbing the fan over here. Right up on that lobe there. And then you take and you turn this. See how that gap gets bigger. See if I can show this real good on the camera. It's deciding what it wants to focus on. So you're moving that base and getting that gap wider there. I'm going to need two hands to stick the feeler gauge in there. Alright, so stuck the feeler gauge in here as I was turning that. Said sorry I needed two hands. We stick the feeler gauge in there, just a little bit of a drag, and then you'll tighten down that screw there, so I can actually point with. Tighten this down right here, and then it's now tight, you know, but this is the one you make your adjustment with, and then tighten this down, recheck it again, and that's how you do that. And then we'll show you how to check it. Alright. Okay, so to check this, what you're going to do is you're going to put test light with the other end on the negative part of the coil. This is the wire. This is coming from your ignition switch, and I got the ignition switch on, but you put it on the negative side. This wire goes around and comes over here to the side of the distributor, and so with it up on the lobe right now and the points open, you stick this here on ground anywhere, and like that. So then hopefully you can see that. I'm going to reach in here, rotate the engine. It's up on the lobe. Now it's off the lobe. The points are closed. Keep rotating around to the next one. It's up on the lobe. They're open. Rotate it around to the next one. Points are closed. Light goes out. Up on the next lobe. Points are open. Light's on. So that is how you check to make sure that when your points are closed, that you're getting a connection through there and they're actually closing. Because I've done these, you know, in the past before. Had a no-start situation, all of a sudden realized that the points aren't closed anymore. So that's how you check that. And you can do it while cranking the engine too if you want. On a 4-cylinder engine, you can still see the test light blinking. That's troubleshooting method right there. You know, just stick your test light right here on the negative side of this coil, so you got negative and positive. Stick end on here, stick it to ground somewhere, crank the engine. If your test light stays on all the time, that means that you know, you're not getting hold on a second, now I'm forgetting. So if your test light stays on, that means the points are open. And even if it doesn't ever, you know, if it doesn't blink, it means if they're staying open. That means they're not making any contact. They may be physically closing, but there might be so much corrosion on the points that they're not, you know, and you can clean them to get by, but should replace them at that point, you know. But if the test light never comes on with it hooked to here, that means that they're closing, but they're never opening. That's a little bit rare of an occasion, but what you should see is a test light blinking. You know, a 4-cylinder engine with just 4 lobes on there, it's easy to see. You get into the V8s with, you know, it's going to have 8 lobes around that shaft. They're going to be a little harder to see. So everything's all set up in there good. So this one has this cover that goes in here. Seats down in there. Just kind of got to match it up with that. You know, see how you can turn it right there. There's a slot in the outer part, and just match that slot up there, because the new distributor cap has that same slot. What I like to do is, you know, set this down and get it all snapped into place here. Don't forget your rotor. Done that before. There's a flat spot on the rotor right inside of there. Corresponds with this flat spot right here, so it could really only go on one way. Alright, sorry I needed two hands for that. That snapped in there, and then orient this thing. You know, here's the notch, so this is exactly how this would go, just like that. Take one plug off at a time, put it right back in the same hole. That way you got it all the same as it used to be. There, got those on there. Coil wire all snapped in place there. And with our new plugs in, the ignition system is serviced. The next thing we're going to do is change this fuel pump and the fuel filter. I got a one of these just inline fuel filters here. So 5/16 is what our hose size is. And then they have drained the oil. There's a I'm not sure you can see it. The drain plug goes in there somewhere. There. You put that back in. Get some new oil put in here. These things have just a regular oil fill right there, dipstick there, nice and handy. We got us a new oil filter. Not that one. That's the old one. Stuck it on there while I was blowing off and cleaning everything so crap wouldn't get in there. And you know. But that's how you set up and check and test. Make sure your points are working. You know, it's a good idea to do, just because, you know, when you get it all, you know, it's not too big of a deal to take it all apart, but it's always kind of nice to know that your points are working and everything before you put it all together and find out you crank and start. You know, this thing was running when I drove it in the shop here, so that I know if it doesn't start that I need to start here. Looking there to figure out what's going on with it. So there's your points, and replacing condenser, setting them up, and testing. This is a Wisconsin VH4D. You know, I can go through, you know, I can't remember exactly what's in these boxes, but as far as parts go, but they all came from Napa. They were all in stock, not at my store, but at one a little bit farther away. Other ones there. And, I know that the distributor cap was in this one, so there's some parts there for that. Takes a 1106 Napa filter, and I'm sure they, you know, they have the coils if you need that. We put in these Auto Light 386 spark plugs, gapped at 30 thousandths. We gapped the points at 21 thousandths. That's everything with that. So not too big of a deal.